Hey Free Spirit Beaters, it's Kristen Fagan here, your host, Free Spirit Beading on the Softlex Company YouTube channel. Thank you guys for being here today. So, hi Lydia. What are we gonna do today? Today we are going to create a beaded necklace design with our new tulip check glass beads, which are currently buy two, get one free. And if you buy four, you get two free. Buy six, you get three free, and so on and so forth over at softlexcompany.com. Hi, Paula. So I'm going to be working with those today. They are a surprise color item. So when you purchase them, you'll just put in your quantity that you want and we will send you a surprise color choice from the colors we have. Really fun. It's nice sometimes to get things kind of surprise, and I know that a bunch of them are in nice fall colors, and then we also have a couple of blues in there. So they're a nice nice mix of colors that are actually even two-toned. I think all of them are two-toned. So they work well in a bunch of different designs. They're $4 a piece. So like I said, if you buy two, you'll get one free. If you buy four, you'll get two free. If you buy six, you'll get three free, and so on and so forth. So that's going on over at softlexcompany.com until tomorrow, which is September 22nd at midnight Pacific time. And I'm gonna pair some of those surprise tulip check glass beads with antique color wire. I'm gonna be using our Softlex medium 0.019 beading wire in antique brass color to string with. And I'm gonna be using the Softlex craft wire, which is a hard wire wrapping wire for the pendant, and that's gonna be in our vintage bronze color. And the antique brass and the vintage bronze colors pair really nicely together. I'm gonna be using the tulip beads, and I'm gonna be using some check glass left over from my Spice Market bead mix, as well as just some check glass I had here in my studio. And I'm gonna be using some tiara cast hammered rings in the antique brass color, and tiara cast toggle clasp in also antique brass color. So everything is nice and matching with all the metal tones. The only variation is my crimps. We do not sell an antique brass colored crimp. So you can either use gold filled, which is what I used last weekend in our video with the antique brass wire, or you can use copper, and that's what I'm gonna use today because the copper is a little bit darker of a color. Also, the copper will patina over time and it'll get even darker, so it'll get closer to that antique brass feel. So I hope everyone's doing all right out there today. Happy Monday. I don't know if anybody caught me on the Jesse James Beads page with Sarah last week. We did a really fun snake necklace design for their School of Magic Harry Potter themed launch that they did over at Jesse James Beads. You can find their bead bundles and our Softlex wire that matches, and also the silver silk cord that matches over at jessejamesbeads.com. Lydia did catch me, awesome. Yeah, it was really a fun design. I was something that I had wanted to try for a while. So I was inspired by the snake theme of Slytherin House, and made a really neat snake design. If you did miss it, you can catch it on the Softlex Company blog. Go to softlexcompany.com, scroll all the way down to the bottom. You can see our last 6 blogs, and we posted it on Friday as a weekly weekly roundup, and I think we have another blog post about it coming this week, so you can catch it on both of those posts and see what the design was and check out a little bit more, see the video too. It was not here on YouTube, it was on the Jesse James Beads Facebook page, but we do share the design and bunch of pictures on our blog, and we also link to the video from there as well. Thanks, Damien, for sharing the link to the blog. All right, let's see if I missed any comments. Paula missed it. Hi from Rwanda, welcome. Hi Karen, glad you caught me too. Good to see everybody. So let's take a look at what we're gonna be working with today. A little bit of a glare, so let me move my desk up. That looks better. Ooh, I hope you'll be excited. So I started the first half of the necklace already here. So I'm gonna show you guys how to create a wire wrapped pendant. We have this connected to the Tiara cast hammered rings in the antique brass color. This is the largest of the 3 sizes that we carry. And we carry them in a few different metal types: rhodium plated, gold plated, black, copper, and this one is the antique brass. And then a couple of different other sizes. That's the medium size, and this is the small. So I'm using here our Soft Flex craft wire to attach this pendant to the ring in vintage bronze color. I'm actually going to be using 22 gauge. This is what it looks like. You can use, this is where the 22 gauge we'll be using today. 22 is pretty soft. I can bend it very easily. I can use my hands to help manipulate the wire a little bit. And then 20 gauge will be a little bit heavier. If you wanted to go up, you can go up to 20 gauge. Yeah, the texture on these rings is awesome. This is the Hammer Tone collection, and they're just beautiful. They're really artisan quality, gorgeous rings. So I've got the vintage bronze Soft Flex craft wire on the bottom here, and the craft wire is a copper core. It's a hard wire. This is what you would use for wrapping, making loops like this. It's going to hold its shape. And then I have on this part here, it's strung on the Soft Flex antique brass beading wire. So this is 0.019 diameter bead stringing wire. So you'll see this is flexible. It's more like a thread compared to a hard wire that the craft wire is. And we're gonna crimp the ends to finish it off. So this is what I'm using, is the antique brass Soft Flex medium 0.019 diameter beading wire. So you'll see how wonderfully these 2 different wires go together. This is the craft wire, and this is the beading wire. This is the vintage bronze, and this is the antique brass. So they are a lovely match. I like working with those 2 a lot. I've got a little bead stopper on the end here. It's a great handy little tool. This is one of our mini bead stoppers. They come in 2 sizes. This is the mini, and then there's a regular, and you just pinch them to open up your spring, clip it onto the end of your wire, and it holds your beads in place so you don't lose them while you're working. Fantastic little product that makes beading So much easier. So we're gonna start, I'm just gonna use, I don't have another one of these pendants, so I'm just gonna use this guy here with this bead, and we're gonna attach it to the ring so you can see how I did that. I've got a few more beads here to make my second hand of the string, and let me show you these little tulip beads. So this is what the check glass tulip beads look like. It's a sweet little bead shape. I got this surprise colorway, which is green and a little bit of gray. So that's what informed my my color choices. I picked out some sort of smoky quartz looking beads from my Jesse James bead stash. And then I paired it with this pendant, which had some of this pretty amber colors sprinkled in there that I picked up from the check glass bead mix. The Spice Market one, which I believe is now sold out. So we finally did sell out of that one. We had a ton of those for a while, but now that those are gone, they're gone. However, you can use other beads in place of what I'm doing here. So this is like a little fire polish bead. It's probably 6 millimeter in size. And lastly, I have these fun, I think you'd call these seed beads. They are like a cube-shaped bead. They're a size 8, so they're one of the larger seed beads, and they are in a matte antique brass finish that I'm just using for spacers. And what that does is it helps create continuity between all of these different beads. So you'll see I have all those little cube spacers in between my beads that are strung here, and it just helps kind of bring it all together, create continuity in what you're working with. So we're gonna start with the craft wire. This is the vintage bronze. I'm gonna cut off a nice length, probably, let's see. Yeah, that's about 8 inches. Using my Italian flush cutters to cut that wire. And then I'm going to use these nylon jaw pliers to just run it through my wire and straighten it out. It doesn't have to be super perfect because we're going to end up wrapping around our pendant. But as you'll see here, this just helps kind of smooth it out off the roll. And this is way more than you need. I wanted to cut a lot to just make sure I didn't run out. And I do like to do some messy wraps, and I tend to like to have a little extra wire to create that. Lydia says, a simple but wonderful invention. That is so true with those bead stoppers. It's one of those inventions that you're like, huh, why didn't I think of that, right? I mean, it's just so simple, yet super effective. So I'm gonna string on my bead, my first bead. So this is taking place of this guy here, just so I can show you how I did this. And I'm gonna leave about 3, let me measure it for you. Oh, I've never had that happen before. Let's see. My measuring tape, the little guy that sticks on the end, went right through. I've never had that happen before. Good thing I have a new one here that I can open. That's so funny. The little tab that sits here must have snuck right in there. Okay. So yeah, about 2 inches is what I'm gonna leave on the top end. This is the end that we're gonna make our loop out of. And this is the bottom end. We're just gonna take the bottom wire and fold it up just like so. And then I like to go underneath this bead here. So I'm just gonna take that wire, wrap it underneath one full time. And that'll hold that in place. And you just have a little wire here. You can always make some designs on this if you want to, or just leave it straight. That'll tend to be the back side of my necklace. So you can just leave it straight, or if you want to create some zigzags with your pliers, you can do that to create a little texture. So I have my bottom wire that I went around underneath this bead here, and now I'm going to take it, and actually you can even do it on the same side as this one, and I'm going to wrap it around the top. So now I've got wrapped around here, around the bottom, and then I'm taking it around the bead, and then I'm just going to wrap it around the top. And you can do around the top a couple of times. I'm using 22 gauge wire, so it's pretty soft, which means I can use my hands, which I tend to like to do. But you can use a plier here as well. And if I was using 20 gauge or 18 gauge, something thicker, I would definitely need to use a pair of pliers. And I just create a little messy wrap. So just wrapping it around, building up texture. I really enjoy messy wraps. And you could take your nylon jaw pliers and just straighten this out a little bit more. And I'm going to trim off my excess from there. So now I just have the one tail. I like the texture of a messy wrap. I think they're fun. They give me a little more freedom to not worry about my wrap being perfect. But if you like a more perfect wrap, you're obviously free to do that there as well. Okay, so next I'm going to use these 6-step pliers. I think we call them 6-step looping pliers. And what they have is they've got a little shelf here, and you can see there's different sizes for each of these mandrels. And when you're working with this plier, you can decide to work with one of these mandrel sizes, and it'll create consistent loops for you. The multi-size mandrel wire looping tool, excuse me. That's what it's called. So I'm going to take my chain nose plier first, and I'm going to work with this side here. Leave a little bit of space, and I'm just going to bend it 90 degrees towards me, just like that. And then I'm going to grab my multi-mandrel looping plier, and you can decide which size you want to use. I'm going to use this size right here, and this way I know every time I make a pendant, if I'm making a bunch in a row, I can just always use this size, and then you can have some nice consistency there. So you wrap your wire around the mandrel, and then I'm just going to twist my tool the other way so that I could pull the wire underneath and create my loop, and then go ahead and pull that out. Yeah, Karen says messy loops add character like texture. That is why I love them, because I'm a big fan of texture. I like when there's a little bit extra to look at, and I do think messy wraps give sort of that handmade textural look. So I'm not going to close this loop right now because I want to slide it onto my ring. So I'm just going to take my chain nose pliers. I'm going to grab the loop and just open it ever so slightly so I can slide on that ring, just like you would a jump ring or something like that. And then you can take your pliers and pull it back closed. Now I'm just going to hold the loop, and I'm going to use my fingers, or you can use a tool to do some more messy wraps with the rest of the wire all the way around. And then you can trim up whatever little tail you have, and using your chain nose pliers, you can just go in and tuck that tail in. And now you've got yourself a pendant hanging from the ring. And actually it's quite cute with the wire on this side in this particular design. So you can always grab a hold of that wire with your tools and make little zigzags like this, just to create a little interest if you want to. And that's how you get the pendant on the ring, using 22 gauge soft flex craft wire in vintage bronze color. Next step we're gonna do is we're actually gonna attach our beading wire. So let me see how much I have here of wire. I have about 16 inches. So I'm gonna take my beading wire, which is the flexible stuff. This has a stainless steel core, as 49 micro braided stainless steel wires that are then colored with an antique brass color and then coated in nylon. So it's really silky, really great to work with. It's kink resistant. When you're working with beading wire, such as this, like a bead stringing wire, it's recommended that you crimp it at the end. Now it is not tying, but we generally recommend crimping for the best strength. So I'm gonna add a 2x2 millimeter crimp tube. I'm using the copper. And you just string the crimp tube on one, you loop it into your ring, and then just pull it down to where you're happy. I want to create similar loops between the two. So I'm just going to pull it down a little bit tighter so that these two look the same. Then I'm using my magical crimping pliers to crimp it. We definitely recommend using a crimping plier whenever you're crimping crimp tubes. Soft flex crimp tubes are twice as thick as most on the market and seamless, so they're really strong. A lot of times when you're new to beading, if you pick up crimps that are just not the highest quality, you're gonna find that this is an area where your design can fail, your design can break. Even sometimes I found with lower quality crimps, they just break as I'm crimping them. So investing in a nicer quality crimp, finding a supplier like us at Soft Flex for that makes a big difference. So I'm gonna go ahead and use magical crimping pliers. These work with 2x2 millimeter crimp tubes only. You're gonna put that tube in the center of your plier, give it a good squeeze, and it's gonna pinch the four corners. Turn it 90 degrees, put it back in there, give it a squeeze again, and then we're gonna rotate a few more times. I'm using the ergonomic handle ones today. We sell regular handle and ergonomic handle options on the website at softflexcompany.com, depending on what your needs are. You just trim off the little end, and now you have a nice crimp piece of beading wire to string. Let me make sure I've got this sitting okay. Make sure they're not tangling up here. All right, so now we get to string our beads. I don't know what's going on with the sun today, but I'm gonna move myself a little bit closer again. So I have here what's called a bead mat. This is another ingenious little invention. It's just this fuzzy mat. They're really inexpensive. You can dump your beads out on the mat and then they will not roll off for you. It's wonderful. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna set my beads up so that I have the same pattern that I have going on here. I'm using this little round one, followed by a tulip. And I'm just not showing, I'm not gonna lay out all the little seed bead spacers. I'm just gonna add those in between while I'm working. Lydia says it's hazy out. I went to Chandler today. And what are you saying? And you couldn't see the superstitions. Oh, really? Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised I was getting so much sun coming in the window because it does look a little bit hazy out. But you know, Arizona, we're a sunny place, that's for sure. Definitely not short on sun. I thought that this was such an interesting little color combination, this gray and green. I don't know that I would have put it together on my own that way. These are the tulip beads. They're the buy one, get one bead strands we have going on right now. But they're very interesting with these extra little gray beads I had on hand. I think it helps tone down the green. So if you're someone that you can either play up the green, make the green pop more, or you may want to tone it down. I felt like this one was a nice way of kind of toning it down a little bit. Am I missing a bead? Let's see. I am. I think I have one too many of this one here, so I'm just going to take this guy off and put that one aside. It's always good to count your beads and make sure that when you're trying to keep a symmetrical style that you've got even number of beads to work with for each side of your necklace. Okay, so now I'm just gonna start stringing. This is the fun part. So I'm gonna string on a little, these are all check glass beads except for this guy here. This one's from Jesse James Beads, and so I'm not sure if that's a glass bead or not, but the rest of them are all check glass. And then I'm just gonna add these cube spacers in between. And like I said, if you're working with a bunch of different beads, different shapes or different styles, and in this case, I've got a couple of different colors even, finding something that you can use as a spacer bead. It could be a metal. It doesn't have to be a seed bead like this. It could be a metal bead, or it could be a different seed bead, different shape, different size. Just something to go between your multiple colored beads will help bring a continuity to your design. And you don't have to do that. Obviously, there's no hard and fast rules with beading. It's your artistic creation. But if you are struggling with how to maybe bring some things together that are all over the place, adding a spacer bead will do that for you. Yeah, I think we were having some fires here too, Damien. So I'm not sure what the status is on that. There might be some up north at the moment. I'm not the best at keeping up on current events of what's happening. Oh, of course. I swapped these two. I knew it looked a little off. My spidey senses were telling me that one side felt a little off. I just have to pay attention to the pattern. I feel like I do that almost every video when I go off pattern as I'm chit-chatting. And so I hope everyone had a nice weekend. We were celebrating over here. My youngest kiddo turned 14. So he had, we didn't have like a party of any kind, but we did have like a little open house on Saturday. So a few of his friends could stop over, and everyone kind of came at different times so that we didn't have a lot of people here at once. And it was nice. I mean, he's older now, so he's a teenager. So my husband and I sort of stayed away and just let them come in and chit chat. It was like he had like coffee talks with everybody. It was very cute. Paula, your son is 15. Yeah, I have a 16-year-old also, so right in the middle between my two kiddos. And then yesterday we just did dinner with grandma and cake. And so it was a very nice weekend. I was pretty wiped out today. It's crazy. We're so used to not doing anything. When we do anything now, it feels like so much. It's wild. All right, we're almost there. One, two, three, four, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So these tulip bead strands, the ones that we're doing the BOGO on, they're about 8 inches on their own. So you can easily get a bracelet out of one strand. Or you can do what I do and break it up and add other beads with it to make a necklace. Or if you're getting multiple strands, you can always combine them together to make it longer. So to match, we have these awesome little toggles in the antique brass color that go with the hammer tone ring, so it really is lovely together. Perfect match. Karen is asking what these are. These are considered a seed bead. They are size 8 and they're in a cube shape. They have a antique brass finish on them. So I'm using them, they're like a matte brass finish. So I'm just using them as spacer beads. I would say they look about, I think they're about 3 millimeter in size. They're a size 8 in the seed bead world. But I'd say they're approximately 3 millimeters in size. So now I'm gonna grab another crimp tube. So this is a 2x2 copper, and you can see how nice the copper goes with the antique brass. It does really fade in there nicely. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about that, Becky. I'm so glad that this weekend was better than the last. My condolences to you and your family. That is very hard. No, the magical crimping tools do not come in any different sizes. They only come in the one size for the 2x2 millimeter crimp tubes. The only difference is that the handles are different. So this is the ergonomic handle, and then there's just a regular handle. So you go through your crimp, you take your wire through one end of your toggle clasp, and then you come back through your crimp to make your loop, and then you'd use your crimping pliers. Get those crimps right in the center there. Give it a good squeeze. And then turn it 90 degrees, place it back in the center, and then go rotate around a few times. These do take a little practice getting used to, but once you get them to like a nice little bead like that, I mean, they're really just lovely. Then you take your flush cutters, you go right up to your crimp, and you can crimp this tail away, being careful not to crimp the wire that your beads are strung on. So now we'll do the other side. If you wanted to make this long to go over your head, you can save yourself 2 crimps and a clasp by just crimping one side to your ring, stringing all of your beads all the way around, and then coming back down and crimping to the other side. So again, to attach the other end of the clasp, you slide on your crimp, then you slide on your toggle, and you take your wire back down through the crimp, to create your loop, pull on the tail, and then just wiggle your crimp down close to your beads. You do want to leave a little bit of space between your beads and your crimp so that you can have flexibility in your design. That is another way that your design could become sort of a break point, is if you pull this too tight and this necklace is really taut and then you're crimping it super tight, it's not going to have any wiggle room to move around, and eventually that tension could cause some breakage in your design. So you always want to make sure you don't need a lot of space, but you do need to leave just a little bit of space on the end so that you've got some flexibility and some movement on your necklace. Then go ahead and crimp. And then again, I'll take my flush cutters. I'm going to use the flat side of the flush cutters. I'm going to pull that all the way up to my crimp, just like so. Make sure you're not cutting the wire that your beads are strung on. You only have the wire that is the excess that you want to get off there. You can go right up to your crimp, trim off that tail, and you're done. Let me grab a neck piece so I can show you guys on there. Could Softflex please ask the Magical Crimping Company to produce pliers in different sizes? Yeah, we can suggest it, we can ask, but it'd be up to, I guess, I don't know if it's the manufacturer or the inventor who decides what size they are, but they would definitely need to change a part of the tool where the little hole here. So are you wanting to use different size Softflex wire? Or are you wanting to use different size crimps? This fits a 2x2 crimp tube. So are you asking that you'd like it to be a larger size possible so that you can do a 3x3 crimp tube? Or are you hoping to use like a thinner beading wire because it works best with the medium and the heavy beading wire? You have to be a little careful with the fine. Different size crimps. So what size are you thinking of? 3mm, like 3x3? That's really the only other size I ever use. Is there something else that maybe I'm not aware of? Going down to 1. Ooh, 1 is tiny. 1, 2, and 3. All right, we'll put in this suggestion with the company and just let them know that it's something that you guys are asking for. So here is our finished design. Back up a little bit. Turned out really pretty. I am really digging the green with sort of the gray colors. It's an interesting combination. And just to show you how nicely all of the wires are working together here. So you've got the vintage bronze craft wire, and then you've got the antique brass beading wire, and then the little copper crimps work really well with it. Magic necklace. It's like the universe. I have been creating with so much green. I think the last like 3 or 4 designs I've made have all had green in them. It's like the universe is like, hey, we know you love green. Just keep making green, green, green items. So it's pretty fun. I've got quite a large supply of green beads that I can now adorn myself with on a regular basis, which I didn't have that much before. I had just a handful of designs. So it's funny how I kind of work in color stories. Do you guys feel that way? You're drawn to a certain color palette or color story, and then you work in that for a little while before you break free and end up in another color story. I feel like I'm in this sort of green, brass, vintage color story at the moment, and I love it. It's great. Someone asked on one of the videos, I think last week or maybe the week before, what my favorite color was, and my favorite color of Softflex beading wire is antique brass, and I realized I didn't have that many videos here on YouTube that I actually used it, so that's why I pulled it out last week and this week to play with it. It might be time to change colors. Well, you know, we've got Halloween designs coming around the corner here. So I have a feeling the next couple of videos, maybe not next week, but the week after, I'll be moving into a whole different color scheme. Yeah, yeah, it's nice to be kind of really enjoy a color for a little while, right? And get into that color palette and just really kind of explore it before you move on. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful week, and check us out at softflexcompany.com for your BOGO tulip check glass beads this week going on. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention, we have some outlet 24 karat gold going on. That's 50% off. We've got just a handful left of the fine diameter, and then we have a decent quantity of the medium diameter. The reason they're in outlet is there is some black spotting that's infrequent throughout the spool, but the wire is still very usable. I think there was something that happened in the heating process when they enameled the plating to the nylon, that they're got some heat spots, and so there is some black spotting on there. So that's why we have it up for 50% off. Once it's gone, it's gone. It's sold as is, so you cannot do returns on it. But if you like the gold, I'd highly grab it because it's not a lot of stuff that's on it. It's really minor, but it's not something that we could have put in our regular stock. So it is something that's just in the outlet. So 50% off. It's a retail discount. If you have designer discounts or something, that's not going to apply on top. So you'll need to check out as a guest and purchase that at the retail discount, 50% off. Yeah, super smoking deal. We're not making any 24 karat gold anytime soon because gold prices are crazy. So it's really the only gold we have in stock right now is this outlet gold. And it is 24 karat gold plating, beaded wire. You can find that on the Softflex Company homepage as well as in the outlet category. I almost forgot to mention that. That's kind of a big deal. People have been going crazy and purchasing that up. We posted it last week, and yeah, we're moving through it quickly. So it's a great it's a great one to pick up if you like to work in gold findings and gold components, things like that. Oh, Paula, it probably is time to change colors. So don't worry. You can get stuck in a color story too, right? But I have a feeling in the next week or two, I'll be in a totally different color palette. So stay tuned. I'll catch you guys next Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific time for our next episode, and hope you guys have a wonderful week. Check out our blog tomorrow, and I'll have pictures of the finished design up there as well as a link back to this video if you missed it. Thank you. Bye, guys.